Welcome. In this short video, we're going to show how to use RootsMagic and FamilySearch Family Tree to reserve and to prepare a person's name to be taken to the temple. Now, the first thing we need to do is make sure that we have FamilySearch support turned on and LDS support turned on. And we could tell whether those are on based on whether the little icons are showing for FamilySearch or LDS. Now, if we don't have those showing, here's how to turn those on. We'll go to Tools, come down here to File Options, and right here is the LDS support. Make sure that's checked, and then go to the FamilySearch category and make sure Enable FamilySearch support is checked. And when you have both of those checked, you will then have a FamilySearch icon and a temple icon next to each person's name. Okay. Once that's turned on, the first thing we need to do to prepare a person to be taken to the temple is to make sure we are matched to Family Tree. So I'm going to work on Paul Monks right here. His Family Tree icon is gray, meaning I haven't found him up on Family Tree. So when I click on that little icon, RootsMagic is going to look for possible matches up on Family Tree. This is my Paul on that row, and these are the two possible matches. Now this first possible match is my person. I've actually already previously checked this, but if I wasn't quite sure, I could click the little information icon next to one of these people to compare that possible match with mine. Now, hopefully you have watched the other videos that show how to find matches, and if there are no matches, how to add your person to FamilySearch. But I'm going to go ahead and match my Paul with this one right here and say go ahead and match them up. So RootsMagic is now going to show my RootsMagic person right above the one that I just matched to, so that I can kind of compare the information right there. Now, once I have matched a person in my RootsMagic file to the corresponding person up on Family Tree, I am ready to go ahead and reserve ordinances if they haven't already been done. And the way I do that is to go to the Ordinances tab right here. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the Ordinances tab. Now on this screen, the left side, RootsMagic is going to show me what information I have on this person in RootsMagic. In other words, what ordinances. Now these could be ones that I've typed in, they could be ones that were imported from PAF or whatever, but these are the ordinances that I actually have sitting in my RootsMagic file already. On the right side are the official ordinances. These are going to be the ordinances that FamilySearch shows as having been completed or having been ready for us to go ahead and reserve and do the temple work for. Now, if the work has been done, RootsMagic is going to show you with the little temple with the little blue check mark showing that work is done and the date and the temple, if that information exists. And if we want to bring some of that completed information over into RootsMagic, we can do that by just clicking the little checkbox in this little column right here and then click Copy to RootsMagic. And in this case, the sealing to spouse, that's the only one I don't actually have a copy of yet. So I'm going to go ahead and check that and then say Copy to RootsMagic. RootsMagic is going to ask which spouse is this sealing for, since it happens to be a sealing. RootsMagic needs to know which one. I'm going to go ahead and select that, and you'll see RootsMagic, I now have that information in RootsMagic itself, in addition to it being out there on FamilySearch. Okay, now let's say I want to reserve any ordinances. If there are any ordinances that are available to be reserved, RootsMagic will display ready and put a checkbox here. Now you may have other things in here like in progress or items like that, or need more information. But the ones that you can actually do will say ready and will have a checkbox in the little ready column. And if I want to go ahead and do that temple work, I can click on Ready and come up here and say Reserve the selected ordinances. Now, one thing I'm going to point out before I go any further here, if you look at this right here, you will see that I already have a sealing to parents done for Thomas Monks and Esther Hodgkinson. This one is actually for a Thomas Monks and Esther Monks, which happens to be the married name. Now, most likely, this Thomas is the same as that Thomas, and this Esther is the same as that Esther. So rather than go ahead and reserve this ordinance and redo temple work that's already been done, what I would want to do in this case is go to the Share Data screen. And when I go to Share Data, I'm going to see my Thomas and Esther as father and mother. And I'm already matched up with this Thomas and Esther out on Family Tree. You can tell by the little blue icon and the fact that it's marked as green. But here's that duplicate set of parents, a second Thomas Monks and a second Esther Monks. Now, if I decide that this Thomas and that Thomas are the same, what I want to do is click right here and then tell RootsMagic this Thomas is the same as mine also. And RootsMagic will ask, do you want to merge those two Thomases together so that you are matched up or linked to just that one newly merged one. Same thing with the Esthers. Now, if I did decide that they were the same and I merged this Thomas with this Thomas, and I merged this Esther with this Esther, this couple or set of parents will disappear because they've now been merged and I now have a single set of parents here. Now, once I only have a single set of parents here, when I go to these ordinances, this ready ordinance will not show up anymore because this Thomas will have been merged into here and Esther will have been merged into here. So this wouldn't show up. But let's go ahead. I'm not actually going to reserve this, but I want to show how you would reserve an ordinance if you had ordinances to reserve. Now, I could go ahead and check this checkbox and say, I'm ready to do this one, and then say, reserve the selected ordinances. Now, when I click on that, RootsMagic is going to give me two options. One, I will do the ordinances. In other words, I want to reserve this, and then I'm going to follow through with the additional work necessary to do the temple work for this person. The second option is assign the ordinances to others. And basically that means send it to the temple. Now, if I choose that option and reserve the ordinance, I'm basically done. At that point, I don't have any additional steps, and the temple will take care of everything else from that point on. Now, in order to reserve the ordinances, you'll notice that the button is grayed. I can't do that until I agree to abide by church policies. And you can click on that to see what those policies are. But those policies are basically that you are going to do reserve and do the ordinances for people that you are allowed to or supposed to, your direct line, some collateral lines, but that you're not going to do names that you shouldn't be doing. Once you agree to that you've read and comply, then you can go ahead and reserve the ordinances. And I'm not actually going to do that right here. But those are the two options. I'm going to do them, or the temple's going to do them. Now, there might be a couple of other screens that pop up before this. If the person was born in the last 110 years, RootsMagic is actually going to ask you, are you the closest living relative, or do you have permission from the closest living relative to actually do this? The second screen that might pop up is if RootsMagic determines that there may be duplicate records out there that have ordinances that have already been complete so that you wouldn't need to do these, it will let you know that and offer to send you to that Find Matches page. Okay, so let's say I went ahead and reserved those ordinances. As I mentioned, if you reserve them, if you assign them to the temple, then you're done. The temple will take care of everything. But if you decide to do the ordinances, you have another step. What you've done is you have reserved those ordinances and basically just kind of taken that off of the list so other people can't go in and reserve that. It helps reduce duplication. But in order to actually send those names to print the cards and so that you can do the temple work, you're going to need to click on the Family Search button on the toolbar. And when you do that, RootsMagic is going to open up the Family Search Central screen. And this screen is going to show you things like the ordinance status of people you're matched to. How many of them already have their work done? How many are ready to have their work done? And you can click on any of these to see the list of people that match. So if you want to see just the people that are ready to have ordinances done, just click that link right there, and RootsMagic is going to bring up a list of everybody that's ready to have their ordinances done, and you can go through and reserve ordinances right from that list instead of traversing through your tree like we were doing right there. Okay, but the thing we really want to do right here is temple work. And when you click on temple work, RootsMagic is going to bring up a screen with 3 tabs up here. And this first screen are the reservations. This is going to be a list of the people that you have reserved, that are on your reserve list. And from this screen, you can check individual ordinances or all the ordinances for a particular person and print what's called the Family Ordinance Request. And that is going to be a paper with a barcode on it that you take to the temple. So let's say I want to do all of Abraham Lee's ordinances. I just check the checkbox next to his name, and that's going to check all of the ordinances. If I only want to do one particular ordinance, I can check that, okay, for a person. If I want to do all the ordinances in the entire file that I've got reserved, just check the checkbox in the header. Now, as you check these checkboxes, RootsMagic over here is going to show you a total of how many baptisms, confirmations, and so far you reserved. Now, most likely you're not going to want to print cards for 542 ordinances. That's why you have the ability to go through and check just the ones you want to do at this point. Now, one little shortcut, if you have a lot of names reserved, it may be a kind of a pain to dig through here. Just come up here. If you're looking for Smiths, just type Smith, and RootsMagic is going to filter your list to only include the Smiths. So you can go ahead and filter your list real quickly like that. But you'll select the check, you'll check the ordinances you want to do, click Print Request, and RootsMagic is going to print that Family Ordinance Request, which you will take to the temple, and they will print your cards. Okay, the second tab, Requests. This is going to be a list of requests that you've already printed. So if you printed out a Family Ordinance Request and the dog chewed it up before you got to the temple, you can come in here and select one, see which people were on that one, and reprint that request. Final option, the cards. Once you take that Family Ordinance Request to the temple and get your cards printed, what you're going to want to do is come right back and open this screen, and RootsMagic will load in the names of the people you just printed the cards for. Now, as you do this, you're going to notice that RootsMagic is actually not only saying what cards you have, but it's showing what work has been done on these cards. So as ordinances are done, you'll get a checkbox. And when an entire card is finished, RootsMagic will put a check mark on the card. Now, what's really great about this is I can go through here, and let's go ahead and select all of the, I'm going to select all these little blue cards right here, all the mail cards, and I'm going to come up here and say give those to a helper. Now when I do that, I can actually say give it to myself, or I can create a new helper, and in this case I've already created one called 4th Ward Young Men, and by doing that, what I've done is I've assigned those cards to the 4th Ward Young Men. So I can then give those cards to those people and keep track of how they are progressing on those cards. Anytime I can view the helpers, I can see how many cards I have, how many have been completed, and how many I've given to 4th Ward Young Men, how many they've completed, and the date they last worked on that. This is great because maybe you give some of your cards to Aunt Martha, and you can come in here and see how she's been doing. Maybe it's been 2 years and she has not done a single card, so you go and ask her, can I have those cards back? Well, let's say she's lost those cards. Okay, now you have a bunch of cards that have been printed, but they're lost. That's where this option right here, reprint. I can click reprint. I can choose the cards that were assigned to Aunt Martha, and I can click reprint, and RootsMagic will print a new Family Ordinance Request for those ordinances so I can get those cards reprinted. Again, make sure that those cards really have been lost or destroyed before you do that so you don't end up doing them twice. And that, in a nutshell, is how to reserve, to prepare a name for the temple, and to track your temple cards.